Now, around the world in 80 trees. We're going to Europe today. And one of the most interesting things about that continent, because I'm doing this by continent, is that people have been uh, changing the landscape in Europe for a very long time. So I found out that the tree human relationship is really what it's all about there. So we're going to be doing a few trees that are really more about the tree itself, the actual individual tree, than about a species. So this will be interesting. So I'm going to start the screen share, and you guys should be seeing my sketch area and the slideshow. Somebody just say verbally, yeah, we can see that.
Yep, it's there.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. Here we go. So we are heading around the world looking at 80 trees. Today's 8 are in Europe. And as I said, one of the most interesting things I've learned is that trees in Europe are having a hard time. I read an ICUN report that over half of Europe's endemic trees are facing extinction due to invasive species, anthropocentric activities, unsustainable logging, urban development. So that's been really an eye-opener for me. You think of Europe as all leafy green and everything, but we're talking about the endemic species. So we're going to learn a lot about that today. And our first stop is going to be in Spain. And this beautiful tree. Now, one thing I was struck with about Europe's trees, a lot of them are just beautiful. Maybe it's because I am from European origin. These beautiful trees speak to me. Maybe that's what I grew up drawing, the iconic tree like this. This is a beautiful elm tree, and that grove right there on the right is actually a really interesting. Those are 7 ancient elm trees at Our Lady of Belen Sanctuary, and they were planted in memory of Knights Templar in the 1600s. So there's all sorts of trees like this that are hundreds, even thousands and thousands of years old. So the field elm, beautifully shaped tree, about 30 meters tall. They live hundreds of years, but I'm sure you've heard Dutch elm disease just roared through the elm community throughout the world and killed 1 billion trees. And it's still pretty serious disease. So the field elm ranges in Southern Europe, low-lying forest. It likes to grow with oaks and ash that we're going to see as well. It's flood and drought tolerant, but that disease really, really got it. The seeds are wonderful. They're winged and they're called samara or samare, plural, only about 1.5 centimeters in width. And this is going to be a really fun one to draw. Look at the interesting shape of the leaf too. So let's start sketching here now to save time, because last time, a couple of times, boy, I was really pushing the time here, because I take about 15 minutes per tree, and it goes fast. So I pre-wrote the names this time just to save some time. And if y'all have questions while I'm going, just ask them verbally. I can't handle doing the chat and drawing 8 trees today, so that'll be great. If you can just ask verbally. And remember that I put all this information on the website. So if you miss something, don't worry about it. So I'm going to draw this. So, if you didn't see the last one, I use an accordion fold and do mine on an accordion, and then affix that into my journal. So that's what you're seeing here. Rather than doing it on one journal page, since my journal's not that big, it's only 9 by 6. So let's get this beautiful shape. One of the things I like to do is capture the essence of the tree. So first I'm going to make sure I get my proportions right. um, the elms seem to have these lovely branches, and uh, the leaves are clustered out on those beautiful limbs. So, but I always check my proportions first before I commit to too much. I go straight to pen, waterproof permanent ink. Let's get this central, look at that beautiful central, oops, trunk there. And this has that classic branching. And we're just going to not spend a ton of time developing. It's always, I always get into this rabbit hole of wanting to do every single branch. And then I don't finish. So remember, we're just trying to capture the essence of elm. And I'm going to capture the leaves with the watercolor. So just remember to try to get that classic branch thing going. I think I made the top a little top heavy. That's all right. Elms to me seem like kind of the beautiful iconic shape. I think I threw in an extra branch. That's okay. And then that let's kind of focus on one of those Samara, the seeds. I'm going to blow this up a little bit. And then I'll be sure to also, I want to leave some room for what I want to write about the trees. So let me get the leaf. Okay, I'm going to do, first I'm just going to, I won't do the serrations first. I'm just going to lightly capture that shape. And you can put this, so it's asymmetrical with that stem. You can put yours wherever you like on your page. Everybody does it differently, but let's capture that asymmetrical leaf shape. And this is pretty toothed all the way to the tip, little tiny teeth. Have you, when you're drawing teeth, do you ever find that you can't, like, you can either do it left or right, but not both? I can't do it very well on the right side, apparently. And beautiful veins. And I'm going to remember to, as we try to always do, let's get some data in here. Do the height of the tree. These are about, this is up to 30 meters. I'm going to go with meters this time in my notebook. Look at how dark that looks. I'll want to kind of knock that back, put in some nice green. And I'll put some facts up here, and let's get one of those beautiful seeds because they're so pretty. So apparently the leaves appear to be about, we're just going to estimate here, maybe that's a euro coin, but I'm not sure how big. Looks like maybe the size of a quarter or slightly smaller. Yeah, I don't know what exactly, but let's say these are pretty big. So probably about 5 centimeters, I'm estimating. And then we've got our Samaras are small, but I'm going to make mine a little bigger because they're so pretty. And they're a little ovoid. And then they have this pretty, the seed case is this, I'm gonna dot that so that it's raised up. And let's see. Am I still showing? Is my talking head still showing?
Yes, you're here.
Okay, because I've lost myself on the screen. So all right, thanks very much. We're going to give this a show that how it has these disc-like kind of veins going out, and I can hit that with the watercolor. So we want to get in a few factoids here. So it's endemic to Southern Europe. And Dutch elm disease. Killed a million trees in Spain and 1 billion trees globally.
I lived in New Haven when I was in law school, and that was just so sad to watch.
All the elms dying.
Yeah, New Haven's called the Elm City,
Oh,
and there were thousands of them, and they're all gone.
wow. That would be like Tucson losing all of our saguaros or something. All right, I'm gonna start in with some watercolor.
Hi, for new people, can you kind of touch on your colors? I couldn't figure it
Yeah,
out.
sure.
Thanks.
So I use a very limited triad palette. I use the classic cyan, magenta, and yellow, remembering that red is not a primary color. The true primary is a magenta, because I can make red with yellow and magenta. And then I use indanthrone blue as a dark blue, and you'll see how I use that. And then burnt sienna, and this is my dirty yellow that I mix with, so I don't have to worry about. So I'm going to make some green with my dirty yellow, because I need a lot of green. And I'm going to do a bright green for the tree. And the leaves are also, and I'll probably mix in a little darker blue to do some shadows in a minute. But what I want to do is getting this, I want to get those, see how the leaves are in groupings. And so I don't want a solid form so much. So I'm going to go pretty light at first. My brush is kind of wet. It would be a little easier if I had maybe made it a little thicker. Gonna see if I can get a little more of that feathery look. Let's get a base green on this leaf. And I'm going to throw in a little bit of the dark blue in here, because I don't want a solid one color on this leaf. I want it variegated. nature is rarely all the same, like flat green.
Hi, Roseanne. Were elm trees ever used by humans for anything?
Oh, sure, the wood, it was used for building extensively, and firewood, of course. Let's get this Samara painted in. I'm getting some pure yellow, but I want a tiny tinge of green. And get that beautiful color there. And then we'll get some of that kind of oxblood red in the middle. And I want it to bleed a tiny bit. So that's okay. So I'm going to make a spot where I can mix a red here. I'm going to take my magenta and then just drop in a touch of yellow to get that more oxbloody color going. Maybe even a tiny, I might even drop in a tiny bit of burnt sienna, but at this point, let's see how this looks. It's still damp, so I want it to bleed. Not bleeding enough. Let's go in with that yellow and try to get it. There we go. I want to bleed that. And then when that's dry, I'll go in and give it some depth with something quite dark. And this is fun. We're going to do a brown for the trunk. So you mix all of your primaries together. So here I just made a big soup of yellow, magenta, and cyan. And it turns into a really pretty brown. Trying to paint sideways so you guys can see, and that makes it hard. Whoa.
Is the bark smooth or is it rough?
Oh, I forgot to get a close up of the bark on this. We'll have to look that up. Maybe if someone has a chance, go check. I didn't grow up with elms, so I'm not sure. Anyone know? I'm going to take a touch of the dark blue and see if I touch this in here, if I can get a shadow to show. Whoa, a little bit too much. Let's to create the depth of I think that'll dry in as so it shows that it's bumpy rather than flat. I'll go in and touch that up when we're done. Okay, we're going to move on to our next.
Elm bark is rough.
Okay. So it's got
a
lot of texture.
the tree looks like it has veins running on the outside.
Okay.
Thank you. You beat me to it.
Awesome. Thank you, guys. Thank you.
The only thing I would add is I think, or at least your picture of your tree, bushier near the bottom.
You're talking about down here?
Yes.
I'm not sure what that is. It might be it does get larger at the base, but there might be also a shrub growing down there too.
No, I don't mean that low. I mean, like it is clearly, got those branches around the bottom, as opposed to
lower branches. Yeah.
soaring tree where They don't come that low.
Yep, it probably depends on what kind of predation or wood cutting is going on too. So the shapes of trees can be indicated by what goes on around them too. Okay, so we're moving on because there's a lot of trees to do. Where are we going next? So we're going to just sort of head up the continent now to France and look at this amazing tree. I just had to grab this one. It's so beautiful. Here's a close-up of that trunk. This is a very old olive tree. And it is actually, this particular tree is at Pont de Garde in France. It's about 1,000 years old. Amazing. It's by the Pont de Garde is an aqueduct built by the Romans. And that's how they can date this tree. It's been well known for a long time, but olives grow for their age and get very, very old. There's one in Portugal that is 3,350 years old. That's the
There are
bronze.
some in Israel. There are some in Israel that are very, very old.
Yes. So humans have been cultivating olives for 100,000 years or more. If you all could please mute, we've got everybody please make sure you're muted. So otherwise I'm going to have to back out of the slideshow and mute everybody. So please make sure you're muted. Marcia, if you can just hit mute all, that might help. I don't know if you can. Sorry. Okay, so 100,000 years humans have been using olives, and they're not really big. They're 8 to 15 meters tall, but millions of them, hundreds of millions, 830 million are cultivated worldwide. And they produce or are used to produce 2.9 million metric tons of olive oil every year. Interestingly, about 90% of those millions are in the Mediterranean, where the olive is native and around the basin. So that's Europe, Asia, Africa, and the coast. So let's draw this gorgeous, gorgeous tree. Isn't that just amazing? Let me see if we can get this. Gonna have to do it that way because those olives are really cool. Oh, and the cool thing is another little factoid is olive is a drupe, type of fruit, and they are harvested anywhere between the green and the purple stage. And the black olives that are we eat at Thanksgiving. I know my mom always served them. Those are artificially blackened. I didn't know that. So interesting there. So let's go to our next page here. And that tree. I want to capture that beautiful shape of this tree. And so again, I want to get my proportions right. So it's hard, it's really hard to, you sort of jump right in drawing, and all of a sudden you realize, oh no, it's going to go off the page because I got the proportions wrong. So that's why I try to index it first with some just tiny dots. So I more or less get my proportions the way I want them. And so this has got quite a crown of leaves. So I'm going to give myself just some basic shapes to fill in with my watercolor here. You can sort of see how kind of the groups of leaves form. And then we've got that crazy beautiful twist. I don't have time to do every single twist. So I'm going to try to get the essence of those beautiful gnarled, don't sweat getting it perfect. Just try to capture that beautiful essence of those roots coming out. I don't know if you all can hear if it's coming through, but my resident ravens are sitting right outside the window, making the most amazing chortly. They've got a lot to say this morning. It's one of the things I love about this spot is we've got resident ravens who are quite entertaining. I'm not going to overdo it. I think I'm going to leave it at that. I have a tendency to, over noodle. You see, I didn't quite get the proportion right. It's really a little skinnier and wider here. And let's see, this is, we want to say, these are about, I'd say this is a pretty big olive. So this is probably a good 15 meters. It's very old. And we want to say olives, there are 830 million, cultivated. And that we produce 2.9 million. I know I go through a lot of olive oil. Metric tons. Per year. And let's see, we want to also grab human olives cultivation. Has been going on at least 100,000 years. And then beautiful, I just love the colors of those olives. So let's capture, be fun to kind of drop. I'm just gonna sort of create my own. I want to drop one over this. I should have left room. Let's drop. I'm actually going to just sort of make up my own. I'm going to do the yellow and purple. And we've got just get in an olive leaf. And of course, we know olive branches have long been symbols of peace and good fortune. Okay. So the leaves seem to be a little narrower than I've drawn. This should be a little, not quite that fat. So I'm going to fix it by turning it into 2 leaves. We can do that. There. I cheated. One of the drawbacks of talking and drawing is that sometimes my brain doesn't do what it should. So let's get this colored in. I can use my leftover brown to get that's a little too dark, so I'm going to just get this. I'm using a very faint a light wash of the brown, and then I'll go in and add the darks to make it really shine. And of course, let's get the also the very sandy soil around it. Okay.
Do the olives cluster like cherries? Kind
Looks
of?
like it, yeah, they do. They looks like some hang are pendulous, but some, depends on what, when the flowers, the ovaries are fertilized and then they grow. So maybe one would be successful, so there would only be one, or they might grow, they all on one cluster got successfully pollinated, so they would grow as a cluster. So it looks like it could be either. So I'm going to start with I'm going to get that really pale green first. Barely green, and it's a really dull green. I'm going to go really pale. I'm going to make these two the green because I want to cover up that with a slightly darker purpley.
It's one of the times you would use olive green.
Exactly.
Roseanne, where in France did you say this tree is?
It's called Pont du Gard, and it's a site of a Roman aqueduct. So I'm going to take this green, and now I'm going to make for my leaves. I'm going to add some of the dark blue to knock this back so it's a dull, darker green, not bright for this. And I'm going to go ahead and see, I'm trying to keep my brush like active like this so it doesn't do one solid color. And then I'm going to go in a bit and do some darks, but first I want to try to get that purple, which is going to be mostly a base magenta with a teeny bit of tiny bit of blue. Too much.
There's a gray to these leaves that I want to use often here where I live, and I don't quite know how to get it.
Yeah, I know what you mean. Let's take a look at that and how we can get that dull. Same with eucalyptus. Those of anyone from Australia, or if you've traveled in Australia or California, you've got tons of eucalyptus. That's always a challenge. I'm going to let those dry. Let's see how. So I've got a bright green here.
Yeah.
I'm going to add just a tiny bit more of the dark warm blue, and because I want to knock back that bright, and there's not very much pigment and color, and here I want to make it really faint. Let's see what it looks like. That's close to what I want, I think. I want to knock away that bright, like you don't want to use something like if you have a set palette like Hooker's Green, you don't want something like that. That's why I like to mix, so I can edit my colors knowing going in what they're going to do. Now it needs a tiny bit more blue. What you want is a little more, a mix of the bright blue and the dark to sort of get that, all of that. There's a little bit too much. I might be noodling away too much just for one leaf, but it's fun. And I can let it dry and then go back and put a very faint wash over it to knock back that brighter green. But you need to let it dry first. I'm taking some dark blue and laying that right over to knock that leaf back. Okay, if everybody could mute, please. Somebody's not muted.
Roseanne, you're muted.
Ha, thank you. Oh my gosh. How long have I been muted? I know
Yeah, I unmuted you. I think when I muted everybody, I muted you, but
that's
just
all
when she
right.
asked you, I unmuted you at the same time.
That's fine. I forgot to warn you that can happen. So what I've been saying is I did a thirsty brush and lifted some of the color off that rear leaf. I'm trying to now get some shadow to make our olives look round rather than flat. So I'm just using a very faint dark blue. It's one of my favorite colors, this Indanthrone. It's so versatile. Oops, now it's a little too wet, but yeah, I think I'm gonna move on now. Can come back and add some darks in here in a bit, but I'm happy with that for a first pass. My silly little try to fix the skinny leaf thing. That's funny. It looks like a tongue hanging out. That's fun. But I'm overall happy with the colors, and we can come back later. You'll see what I mean by adding darks. Let's see if I can do it here. Is I'm creating a really, really dark green here. I want it even darker with the dark blue. And then I go in and we want to, needs to be a little wetter to create that depth in the tree fluffiness. And I should probably move on, spending too much time on, I could get into the weeds, as it were, because it's so fun. I love doing that, but we need to move on because there's still 6 more trees to do. So we're moving on from France, right? And now we're heading, oh, this is a fun one. We're heading to England, and look at this tree. Oh my gosh, I just fell completely in love with this tree. As do millions of Britons. Look at the person over there on the right, so you get a sense of how huge this is. An oak tree, and it's actually called the Major oak. Not major as in big, but it was named after Major somebody. And this oak is in the Sherwood Forest. How fun is that? And it is thought, a legend is, this is where Robin Hood hid out. The tree has partly hollowed trunk, little hidey holes, and it's thought this is where Robin Hood hid from the sheriff of Nottingham. And check this out. When it snows lightly in this forest, Friar Tuck shows up. I don't know, this just cracked me up. You can see him sitting on the bole of the tree right here. And people flock from all over to take this picture when it snows. I thought that was so funny. So this is an English oak, or pedunculate oak, Quercus robur. And that major oak in the Sherwood Forest is 1,000 years old. It's the largest oak tree in Britain, with a canopy of 28 meters. 28 meters. And a circumference of 11 meters. And it weighs approximately, they've estimated 23 tons. Of course, acorns are valuable food, especially for the Eurasian jay, which is the primary propagator that eats the acorns and then poops out seeds and or caches them, and they end up growing into little oaks. Here's an interesting fact as well. In the 18th century, the height of shipbuilding, it took about 4,000 oaks to build one large ship of the line, a warship, which of course were made of wood then. So you can imagine what that did to oak forests in England and all of Europe. Jeannie Thelwell, could you mute, please? You're not muted, and I can hear it's interrupting the recording as well. Thank you. Whoops.
In that photograph, are there supports into those?
Yes, it's
Okay.
they're
that keep
so
coming at it.
worried they're so worried that it's such a beloved tree that they're worried it's just gonna keel over. So yes, those are supports. And it snows here, so they're worried about the weight of the snow, especially collapsing the tree. So let's draw major oak. And let's see. Try to get up. And this one's going to be a challenge to do it quickly, right? Because I'm going to want to get every detail, and I just can't. This is the part of this is learning what we're doing is learning
Roseanne, what is
how
the height
to do
of the
this
bird?
quickly. Say again, please.
The height of the tree?
I'll
How
have,
tall is it?
I don't know if that was on there, but if it's 28 meters in the crown, you can use your own measurement. I would say it's probably 20 meters tall. Yeah, so you can estimate it by say, okay, if it's 28 wide, then someone can do that while I'm drawing. So I want to get that. Oops, nope. See, this is why I do try to gauge it first. I need to put this right in the middle because it's just gonna go off the side if I don't. Even that's too big because I need. This is one really big tree. I'm not even going to have room for leaves. So trying to just get the spread right now. Wow. Gosh. This huge branch, and it's kind of foreshortened here. You've got
Roseanne, would this photograph have been taken in the winter time when it's not leafed
That's-
out yet?
That's right. It shows that beautiful structure so well. And I'm trying not to get too hung up here on every detail, but boy, is it tempting, right? I'm trying to get the major branches. What I want to do is, like I could keep saying, is I want to capture the essence of these magnificent trees. But again, I'm
Roseanne,
trying to do it quickly. Yeah.
it looks like it's really been cultivated over the years.
Oh,
That
yeah.
it's
Yeah.
very much pruned and,
This is England.
yeah.
Sherwood Forest is a managed forest. Most of their, I would say pretty much all of the forests. Are anyone from England or the UK on the Zoom? They're managed forests there. It's not like, Forest Service here where it's very, very wild, where you're talking about it's very groomed. Plus, well, they had to protect it too. Too many people were visiting it. They don't want a lot of people walking up to it because that compacts the soil. And that kills trees more than anything. Well, besides, of course, disease, but yeah, that people can love trees to death. I'm having to force myself to just kind of do the essence of this oak rather than try to get every branch, because it would be lovely to sit for an hour or two and just capture everything about this tree. Wouldn't that? That would make a lovely kind of Zen activity. But right now, let's just keep on trying to. Notice how the branches really snake, I want to call it. Lovely little squiggles rather than perfect branching. Going to use a lot of pen work to make this look at that kind of gnarly look, but let's try to get those squiggly. I know that's not a proper tree term, but wow, this guy's, just so interesting. How are we doing? How are you guys doing? This one's a challenge, isn't it? Whew.
I was wondering if the branches are brittle like apple and cherry.
That would be something to research. I'm sure a woodworker could answer that very quickly. I don't think of oak as brittle.
The small branches, if they're dry, they can be, but if they're green, they're not, because oak is a very, very hard wood.
Yes, it is. I heard an interesting statistic though. So pound for pound, all wood burns at the same, let's see, 1 cubic, no, I need to get this right. Yes, pound for pound, all wood burns at the same BTU. So think about that. That's really interesting. BTU meaning that's a measure of heat. It may take more of it, but so balsa wood, you need a lot of it, but it would burn at the same eventual BTUs. Okay, I'm going to stop on this one. Maybe put in an acorn, of course. Because we just kind of have to. Isn't it amazing a tree like this can come from such a small beginning? Yeah, so I'm not going to do a whole lot with color here. This tree also probably has a lot of moss on it, and you could throw that in as well. You can do the if you wanted to do the leaf, that would be fun too. So let me just throw in some need to mix some brown here. And I could also, use my burnt sienna with a little tiny bit of blue for a more gray color. But this way I get just the brown I want. How's everybody doing on Mr. Major Oak? This is a challenging one.
It was mentioned how tall and how wide the branches were on this tree, but I'm not seeing it.
Not seeing what?
How tall and how wide?
Oh, yes, it's the crown. We didn't have the height. The crown is 28 meters across. So you can extrapolate, I would estimate it's about 20 meters tall. And this information will also be on my website too.
Roseanne, what is that, a mixed color, or what
Yes,
color are you
so
using?
I mixed my own brown with, you mix all your primaries together. So the magenta, the cyan, and the yellow, I can then alter. So here I'm putting in a little more magenta, put in some cyan, turns into kind of a purple. And then if I add yellow, it starts leaning toward brown. And you can alter it to whatever hue you need, a redder brown, or there's a yellowier brown like that. But now I'm gonna throw in a little tiny bit of mossy green. Whoops, that wasn't a tiny bit. Maybe just a little, because I bet this guy is just full of. Oh, and I can use that on the acorn too. Let's see. I'll have to come back and work on this. I do sometimes have to come back because of the time here. I'm dipping in just a little bit of the dark blue, and I would go in and, let's like add some shadow underneath. And yeah, you could work on this all day, right? To give it that more depth like that. Yeah, so I think I'll move on. Oh, I know what I want to do real quick. See, I'm like, I can't stop. We said it might be winter, but then look at that grass. I wonder if this guy produces many leaves anymore.
What's that red stuff in the middle of the leaf cluster?
That's a good question. I don't know. Could be galls. No, it looks like it's part of the.
Yeah, it might be galls.
Start of the acorn.
Yeah, the
Really?
buds of the acorn.
Those are budding.
Oh.
Yeah, I was just going to say that.
Oh,
Yeah, those are
oh,
baby acorns, perhaps. Oops. So, whoop. I've got let's get this back down here. Come on. Nope. There we go. Okay. Well, I'm going to move on. I can come back and do some more pen work and get this guy going. Maybe add a little shadow to our acorn to make it look roundier, like that. Okay, let's move on. We're only halfway through. Not bad. Not quite halfway. Where am I? There we go. Now where are we going? We are going to now go much farther north. We're going to go to Iceland. And you think of Iceland, people don't think of trees, but we should have. At one point, it was very, very forested, but it pretty much was completely deforested by human use. This is one of trees that is endemic to the boreal north. It is the rowan tree. Beautiful bright berries, rowan berries, and you might have heard of rowan jam, a jelly, which is traditionally served with venison. And however, the rowans there are many species. This is Sorbus aucuparia. There are many other species throughout the north of Europe and North America. They're here, though they are a European species or genus. They are becoming threatened. It's not a true ash. It's sometimes called the mountain ash. It has, as you can see, the leaves look like ash leaves. The fruit are bright red. They're not berries. They're called pomes, which interestingly, it's known as an accessory fruit botanically. And that means that some of the flesh is derived not from the floral ovary, but tissue that's adjacent to the carpel. So that's really fun to dive into that. We think of it as fruit, but it's actually technically botanically not a fruit. Excuse me, we think of them as berries, but it is a pome. And waxwings, love these thrushes. I've got one of these in my yard here in Fairbanks, and yeah, the waxwings just go bonkers for it. So that's fun. So let's draw this beautiful tree. And it's got a lovely shape, I think. It's not very big. It's only, I did forget, you all were somebody did remind me, I did need to write the measurements on this, and I have my notes. I kind of got lost in the bigness and beauty of our major oak. And so it was 28 meters across. That's just mind blowing. And this is Major Oak, is his name or her name. Our trees, I think of trees as she's sometimes in Sherwood Forest. Okay, got that. Yeah, let's get our rowing going. Yeah, that I didn't mean to do. That was a little rhyme. Okay. So not a huge tree. Well, they do get pretty big, 20 meters. That's not small, is it? I'm going to put this one, though I'm going to do a smaller one. Here, I just want to index that size, and I'm going to do the crown out here. It's kind of like how it seems to open. The mine in my yard does that too. It's opened at the bottom like that. And it's got groups of branches that hang down, but you can see that the trunk is split into many, many branches, pretty low. And then I can quickly grasp that, the neat, the bright berries. Boy, it just looks like a Christmas. It almost looks like Christmas, doesn't it? Like it's something that you would have as a Christmas decoration. And then let's get that beautiful droop cluster.
Roseanne, what is the shape of the leaf? Oh, but now I
Here
see.
we go.
one.
Yep, I just blew that up. Here's a good capture there. You've got they're paired opposite, and then there's like a terminal leaf.
Okay.
And they're clustered very tightly together. And they have little, we can see the little cross at the bottom of each. I've been reading up on how to harvest the palms and use them, and everything I found says you should wait till the first frost and even leave them, if you can, if the birds don't get them, leave them on the tree as long as you can for them to get a little sweeter, because they're quite bitter right now. Here they've only been fruiting for a few weeks. Get a representational leaf in here. Looks like tiny little bit of serration. And the leaves appear to be folded a little. Okay, so I'm going to leave that here. And we're going to write, this is about, we'll call this one about, this is going to be a shorter one. So it's going to be about a 10-meter tree. Up to, right? So could be shorter. And the fruit, yeah, fruit's okay to call them, not berries. 4 to 8 millimeters. And I just wrote there, and now I almost put my hand on top of that, which I have a tendency to do, and completely smear.
Roseanne, how do you spell palms? Is it P-O-M-M-E?
P-O-M-E-S is what I've seen.
Thank you.
However, now that you say it, I have seen, we'll have to look and see if double M is more correct.
Palms is double M.
Yeah, that's okay. It's a spelling error. I apologize. Good for catching that. Now that you brought it to my attention, of course, yeah. It's a tree of the boreal north.
You have it correct. It's P-O-M-E, a fruit consisting of fleshy enlarged receptacle and tough central core containing the seeds.
But
And
I
an apple.
haven't seen it. What is the double M? I think I've seen that too.
I think that's French.
I think you're right. Oh my gosh. That's funny.
It is.
Okay.
It's French for apple.
We're thinking globally.
Roseanne, I assume your tree in Alaska was introduced?
That's right. It's widely cultivated. But they are, I mean, it's not completely out of place here because rowans are a boreal species. The boreal forest is a global forest that goes all the way across the northern Europe, all the way. It's a band that goes all the way around North America, Europe, Asia. It's the most important. It's more important than equatorial rainforest in terms of service to the planet. It's a very important forest, and has some very important species: birch, spruce, I'm trying to keep the openness of this plant the way it looks here. I don't want to fill it all in. That's why I'm kind of trying to use dotting it in. And I love some white in there, and when that dries, I'm gonna go in and put lots of red dots, so. However, right now I want to get my nice orangey, it's kind of it's not the fruit is not clear or, like shiny, like a cranberry or a grape. It's matte, dull. Oops. So I'm getting some magenta going here, and then I'm going to drop in yellow. Always takes me a few tries to get that just right. See how that looks. So it's a tomatoey color, so I'm going to add a tad bit more magenta. I'm going to start with a very pale, just paint them all just a pale, light version of it, and then I'll come back and intensify the color a little. That's the one of the joys and beauty of watercolors. Start kind of pale, and then build up rather than start big and heavy, and let that beautiful transparency work for you. So it looks really dull right now, and then I'm going to come back and really pop that color, but it needs to dry to do that. This is still too damp for me to get in there and do a lot. And I'll have to come back on this guy. One of the drawbacks of watercolor is you have to let it dry. Okay. Oh, that looks better. And that dried pretty fast because I made it very, very thin. Now I can pop some color here. And I want to keep them so they're all a little bit slightly different, so it doesn't look all the same. And that should dry pretty nice. I think hopefully it won't smear when I turn this over. One of the drawbacks of my accordion when I'm doing so much is now I need to turn that over and it's not dry.
Roseanne, we've got a request to see the picture of the tree, I believe.
Oh, yeah, and we'll be moving on shortly. But again, these are going to be on the website. I think I can probably well, I'm going to wait so that doesn't smear too much, but these will be on the website, so you can, grab them. We're trying to capture these quickly and got to move fast. So, and I'm running a bit behind, but that's okay. So we're trying to practice doing these quickly, and I could be a little quicker. Okay, where are we going now? Well, we're heading up to Norway, Sweden area, because here's another really beautiful tree. And what I love about this tree is the shape of its branches and its branching. This is an ash. So look at that. That's the same tree in foliage and bare, beautiful shape. And here's one, and this is what is so cool about the ash tree in Nordic countries. Beautiful shape, and it's a very revered tree, the Fraxinus excelsior. So it's in the olive family, interestingly. And it's native to Europe and grows way north, up as far as Trondheimsfjord in Norway. Up 12 to 18 meters tall with a moderately big trunk. The winged seeds are called keys. And it's incredibly important to in Norse cosmology. So Yggdrasil is the center of the universe, basically, in Norse cosmology. And everything exists around it, including the 9 worlds. And its branches extend to the heavens, and its 3 roots each go to a sacred spring. And many, many fantastic creatures live in Yggdrasil. This ash was planted on a Bronze Age burial mound. So that's super cool. So how are we going to draw this one? Well, you can draw the branched tree like this, or we could go back and draw what I call the fluffy tree. But let's see. I think we'll focus on the keys, the seeds and the leaves, and let's do the fluffy tree first. So I call it the fluffy tree, because if I try to do that gorgeous branching one, I'll be here for the rest of the day. And you probably don't want to do that. So this is the European ash, Fraxinus excelsior. And again, this is a very symmetrical tree. So I want to make sure it's just basically, it's basically round, isn't it? Those leaf clusters come out. But look at that, just really, it's kind of the tree that, kids draw when they draw their first tree. And see, I'm cheating because now I don't have to draw any branches, right? Otherwise I'd be there forever. But boy, I want to. Maybe I'll go back and do that burial mound. Someone should. And now let's, what I need to do is I need to hit play for a minute, sorry. Let's get that going. There. And now we want to get, here's the leaf shape we'll do first. Beautiful, classic ash shape. Our Arizona ash has the same shape. So there's the terminal leaf. And then there are, it doesn't have, the leaves sit quite close to the stem. And pretty little tip. Almost a twirl at the end. And there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 pairs. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Oops, didn't, this one needs to be just a little bigger. One, 2, 3, 4, 5. See, I always have to count. They're lightly toothed, but at this scale, I can't really get that in quickly. As it is, what I did was left a broken line, and that can help approximate the look of little tiny teeth. There's some nice ash leaves, and then remember that the winged seeds are called keys in ash trees. Let's see. And please remember, if you put something into the chat, I can't see it, so please just ask aloud. Just going to pull out a single key here. We'll put it down here.
Is
And
the seed is sort of swelling at the base of the key?
Yeah, so yes, you'll see that swelling is where the seed is. Good
Okay.
eye. Like right there, like that. So you'll want to just really lightly show that. So these disperse in the wind, they'll blow out because they get real papery and lightweight, and then that helps in the dispersal.
So it's a single seed per pod, not multiple.
That's correct. So that's the seed right there.
Yeah.
So this is native to Europe. And winged seeds are called keys. And that's the same here with our in Arizona. They're called keys, and important to Norse cosmology. Oh, and height. Let's I keep forgetting that. So we want to put that this guy is, oh, what did we say about, we'll say this is about 18 meters. That looks like a big tree. So this is going to be, oh, I need my fluffy tree. I have to hit play to get back there.
So the keys, they grow in clusters, sort of like grapes.
Look, yes, they do. Big clusters, and they dry out and they get real rattly in the wind. It's a real fall sound for me when I'm around ash trees. Oop, too much. See, I'm not mixing this all the way. I really like with watercolor, and because I'm mixing my colors, I can get this variegated color going on rather than one monochrome, if you will. And I like, especially when I'm doing things like trees, it's a really quick way to get nice depth. See, I didn't blend in all the yellow, and that's going to add a nice, suddenly it looks like more like, fools the eye into looking more like the tree looks. So pretty quick way to get that look. Now I got my brush pretty wet, and I'm intentionally creating some blooms, as it were. Blooms meaning that's when paint goes blah. I'm going to leave that for the moment and get the leaf going. I think ash trees are one of my favorite trees, and then learning about the Norse cosmology was really cool. And the fact that they're planted on Viking burial mounds, even cooler. So trees have been important to people since the beginning of us becoming human. Symbolism and it comes from our relationship to wild nature. So to the Vikings, the native ash became one of their most important nature symbols, part of their preferred cosmology to religion. And the key, let's see. The key is kind of a yellowy green. I'm going to start with a real pale, and then I'll want to come in and darken this seed.
Do you know if there's still forests of these or are they just cultivated?
Oh, there are still, yes, they still grow wild all over.
Oh, good.
Yeah, the ash is doing pretty well. I'm gonna let that dry. It's very wet.
Roseanne, is it possible to show the bare tree again?
Oh, sure. The burial one or this one? For that one.
Actually, I'm not sure.
Okay.
It was a request.
Okay.
That one's good.
Yeah, we'll have to, these will be on the website. So you'll be able to have plenty of time to practice. I think that's beautiful. I'll probably want to draw that. Oops, I forgot to switch back. So you can see I add a little shadow to the key and a little brown to the trunk. And I think we need to move on because I'm behind. Eek. Let that dry while we move on. And do remember, I can't check the chat. So just ask me verbally, please, if you have any questions. Okay, where are we going next? Well, we're going to head over to the Netherlands and Germany area to a very interesting plant, the horse chestnut or conker tree. It's big, huge, 39 meters, 40 meters. Wow. Native to the Balkan forests of Southeast Europe. And there's kind of a if somebody could mute, please. Looks like Jeannie Thelwell, you need to mute again. Thank you. Name, we're not sure if it came from this old wives' tale that the fruit could help coughing horses, which I thought sounded odd, or more likely, take a look at the leaf scar here. That's the leaf scar. Is shaped like a horseshoe and even has, each one has 7 little holes that can be described as horseshoe nails. So I kind of like that theory for the horse chestnut. And look at the fruits are super cool. So I'm more inclined to do like a really tiny version of the tree and really focus on drawing that awesome fruit and maybe the leaf scar. And I chose this particular area in the Netherlands, Amsterdam, because Anne Frank could see a horse chestnut from her window and she mentioned it in her diary. So it is a culturally significant tree. So
This is hilarious because I have a horse chestnut outside my window.
Oh my gosh, no way.
Yeah, and when I live in a condo, and when the building was constructed about 20 years ago, they had to modify the architecture to accommodate the tree.
Oh, but because
because the city wouldn't let them cut it down.
Nice. Oh, that's a good city.
And well, yeah, we have another issue where another tree outside my window is invading the drains. And the city won't let them cut it down, so the drains have to be diverted to preserve the tree.
Oh my gosh.
Anyway, this is so funny that I'm drawing it, but I love the horseshoe. I'm gonna go try and look for that. It's a really monster tree. It's been up for probably, I don't know, as long as the city's been around or close to it.
What city are you?
Vancouver, BC.
Okay.
And so it isn't a 400-year-old tree because we're not that old, but I love the horseshoe. I'm going to try and see if I can find that horseshoe scar.
Yeah,
I haven't actually seen that.
I'd like to know. That's super cool.
It is.
So I'm just
We
gra-
have a-
I- just trying to grab the shape here because I want to focus on the cool fruit.
It's a shame they're not showing the flowers. They're absolutely stunning. When the
I know, I
horses
had a hard time picking what
bloom.
to focus on. I agree. I just can't cram so many things into one. And I thought the fruit was super cool and the leaf scar, as it were, and the leaves. It's a beautiful tree. Let's do the cutaway of the fruit. That'll be fun to capture that color.
The kid, my husband's from Britain, and they played the game of Conkers when they were kids.
I wondered about that. I know the phrase, but I'm not like super familiar with what Conkers is.
It's just, I'm not sure the exact rules of the game, but it's one conker trying to hit the other. I think they tied a string or something around it. I don't know all the details, but what I'm wondering about is whether the name of the tree, if they named the game after the tree, or if the tree was named after the
That's a
game.
good question, and I'm curious about that as well.
Sure, we used to play conkers and collect them. They're
Yeah.
so pretty.
So
So
you-
pretty.
Do you think
They
the
were gorgeous, gorgeous. We would just collect them and then make a hole and hit the other one with the conker. Try and break the other conker with yours.
how hard are they?
Very, very hard. Very
And then
hard.
spiky, right?
Yeah, the green is much spikier than appears in that photograph.
Yes, you can
That
see
looks
on the
like little lumps, but they're real spikes. They're not, when they're young, the seeds, they're really spiky.
Yes, but you have two different ones also. You have the wild ones and the tame ones. And the wild ones, they have the really spiky stuff. And these are the tame ones, you can eat them. The other ones you can't eat. The animals, they can, but it's not for human to eat.
Wait a minute,
But
I think
those-
that's the sweet chestnut you're talking about, which is a different tree than the
Yes.
horses.
a different species, yes.
It's a different species, yeah. That's the one with the spiky.
We'll have to get that. I'll have to research that.
I got both of them in my garden.
Oh, so one is cultivated and one is wild.
Yes.
And then we want to get these spikies. Yes, I have seen those super spiky. I love all the, the details on plants, drawing all these things. It's just a botanical illustration. Maybe in another life I would have been a botanical illustrator, although I don't have the patience for it. I prefer quick sketching. So this is the conker. And then I'll just do a quick. This is the leaf scar.
what is the brown to the left of the leaf scar? Is that a
It's a
bud of
leaf
some,
bud. Yeah, it's another leaf bud.
another leaf bud? Okay, thank you.
The leaf buds are sticky.
You can tell, can't you? You can see that in the picture. Look at how shiny it is.
And when you have a good time to kind of show the tree again, we've got a
Oh, yeah.
request.
Again,
Thanks.
so please ask verbally so Marcia doesn't have to stop her drawing to ask your question. But thank you, Marcia. Okay, let's get some color on there. So I have 2 more to go and we're gonna go over today. I talked too much, huh? Okay, I made way too much of the green. This is overboard there. But that beautiful, oops, sorry, mahogany color, let's call it. I'm going to try to mix. Ha. Don't know if I'll get it. That's going to be a challenging one. I'm going to throw this in here now. Have to come back. I think what will work is I let this dry and then come back and do a passive magenta to boost that gorgeous mahogany color. So you let it dry, and then you do a wash.
The game conquers, is it who finds the most of them, or is it like throwing them at each other like
I have no idea. Let's ask the English people.
No, you have to break the other guy's conker with yours. So it's a question of how hard you swing it. Your conker has to beat and break the other guy's conker.
It sounds painful.
You don't hit each other with the conker.
Oh, if boys are involved, I'm quite sure they probably do.
I just used to collect them because they're so gorgeous, but they're so shiny, and then after a bit they lose their shine. No, but they're so shiny, and you just want to touch them. They're so smooth and beautiful.
About how big are they?
A couple of inches, the big ones, 1.5 inches.
Okay, thank you.
Well, I'm going to let those dry and have to come back to enhance that. And move on just a little bit. But fun. Yeah, this was a favorite fun tree. Right, where are we going next? Because we have 2 more visits. Now we're going way over to Ukraine, because we need to keep thinking about Ukraine and what's happening there. And one of my favorite trees, the European larch. Oh my gosh. And here's something so cool. The larch is a conifer, but it's a deciduous. So it does replace its leaves every couple of years. And in the autumn turns this gorgeous yellow. What a gorgeous, gorgeous tree. And look at the cones there starting to develop that color. Beautiful, beautiful red flush. This is a gorgeous tree. Can't wait to try to capture this one. So it is native to the mountains of Central Europe, up to 45 meters tall. Trunk can be as much as 1 meter in diameter. And the leaves, the needle leaves grow in clusters. And it's extremely cold tolerant, as you would expect from this high mountain and boreal tree. Minus 50 degrees Celsius at least will survive. And it's highly valued, its wood, for yacht building, which is interesting. So so you can see we'll be able to get that mahogany color. It didn't leave quite enough shine, but that'll be fun to kind of pull that there. So the European larch, let's see. I have to turn my conker over. How are we going to do this? This is going to be fun. I apologize for going over this time, but we're going to make this one fairly quick. You can tell, it's a conifer by the basic shape, right? Too, but has a beautiful. Yes? Someone not muted. Don't know why we're having a challenge this time. because I want to capture that yellow. Looks like the branches go part way, but not all the way down. And then they become a little bit more erect at the top. And that's my framework. And then I think would be great to draw this. See if we can get more of that in. One of those really pretty cones. Oof, so pretty. I'm going to be testing my speed drawing here since we're running out of time.
Do the roots stay on top of the soil a little bit? It's hard to tell from my small computer here.
I don't know either. There's a rock in front of this photo, so you can Google it and look at other images and
Will
see.
do.
Yeah, that, and let us know. That would be great, because good question. So the cones are 2 to 4 centimeters, and these are really tall trees. Imagine a whole forest of this golden beauty. This was what, up to 45 meters tall. Wow. And let's get some of that gorgeous yellow going. Of course, this is all backlit and beautiful. There's a flight of geese going over right now.
Is this yellow every year, or is it when it's every few years when it's about to lose all its needles? And does it lose all the needles all at one time, or is it like live oak?
Good questions. It does not lose them all. It replaces them as it goes, only every couple of years. And in terms of the color, that's a good question. I think it's only when it's being replaced. But of course, in a big forest of them, you'll have plenty of them changing. And to get some depth, I'm going to dirty up that yellow a little with some burnt sienna. Turns it kind of a little bit more orangey, so we can get more depth in here. And we'll go for our magenta cones. Those are so pretty. I'm gonna lay I really need to reserve those green spikes, but that's going to be hard. Ha.
I looked up the roots. They're only about 1 meter deep.
Wow.
Shallow, it says, and they spread out laterally. I did look at a few pictures and I could not see any roots on top of the soil. So
okay, And you know, I can't imagine they could in the environment they live in, now that I think about it, if they're surviving 50 below, you wouldn't want
Yes.
your roots exposed.
Yes, that's a good point. It said that they like to stay close to the surface for the moisture.
Oh, so that's a trade-off, isn't it? I wonder how they keep from freezing.
Trees just shut down when it gets cold.
Yeah, so all the sap
Just they just shut
flowing.
down.
Yep. Yeah, I'm having to learn all that anew. Of course, in the desert, it's the opposite. They're trying to survive the heat. I'm going to let those dry because we're going to move on to our last one, but that was fun. And then I can just quickly throw a tiny bit of, sometimes I just grab burnt sienna for a quick and easy brown, and then I can go in and with a tiny bit of the indanthrone blue, look at that, you get a nice browny gray going on. So what a beautiful tree. And I'll fill in the details. But let's look at our last tree, which actually isn't going to be so much a species as a famous tree. Way down in Sicily, this enormous tree, it's absolutely huge, is, and this is kind of a fun play on words because we saw the conker or the actual chestnut. This is a completely different species, but it is called the 100-horse chestnut because the legend is, so it's thought to be almost 4,000 years old, 57.9 meters in girth. That's almost 200 feet. And it is split into many trunks and actually has a big hollow center. You can see that painting there depicts it. And the legend is that a queen of Aragon and her 100 knights during a trip to Mount Etna were caught in a storm and took shelter under the tree. So it's been known ever since as the 100-horse chestnut, which I just thought that was super fun. So let's, I think the fun one to depict would be, let's take that painting and depict our 100-horse chestnut, which the species is Castanea sativa. And there we go. Oops. But how fun is that? You can see how it grew in a ring, almost like the way baobabs do. And then it lost its center. So these ancient trees, creosotes do this, baobabs do this. As they grow, they form a ring almost. And then the inside is hollow where the living trunks around it. It's all one tree. Super cool. So I'm going to plop this one right in the middle. And we've got trunk there. And we'll just do like, we're sketching like the mass of leaves like that. I don't know if I'm going to put the little house in there, but I think it does exist, or a little shack. But you can see, there's a little, looks like a horse for scale that helps this. You always want to try to have the scale. So I'm putting the clusters in here, and then the other trunks. It looks like it's got some foliage in here. I think putting the little shack would be a good idea for scale, which is probably why the artist originally did that. Yeah, kind of fun. Too fun. So this is literally a famous tree on Mount Etna. Housed a queen of Aragon and her 100 knights in a storm. Like I said, this is the European trees have been more about the relationship humans have with trees, in addition to our trees themselves. So I'm going to lay in a lighter green, and then I'll go in and add depth and push some back to help create, the look of it going back. So first we do a lighter wash. Let's make a greener green for the grass. This is almost like a portrait more, isn't it?
Did I hear you say that it typically grows in Southern Europe?
Oh, no, this is just one tree.
Well, I realized that, but the species, do we know?
I actually didn't, in this one, I just decided to focus on this particular
Thank
specimen.
you.
So we'd have to look that up. Yeah, I cheated on this one. I was like, no, I want this just to be about this tree and its relationship to legend. Yeah, you caught me out on that one.
This is very interesting and fun.
It is fun to learn all these things. And I think more than any other place, Europe has this tree. Humans have this relationship with trees. let's see. I'm gonna just do one more thing and then I'll probably finish up and we'll have to come back and do it later. Yeah, let's let that dry and then we can, because it's really, really wet. So let's stop share because, yep, I went over by 13 minutes. And what happened? Let's see. For some reason, I've lost my own. Are you guys seeing me? Okay, because
Yes.
I've completely lost my video. Let me see.
We can see your face.
Oh, good, because I can't see me. Okay. That was so fun. Let me show you real quick. Let's see if my document camera will work. Wow. Let's see. Sorry, I have to find myself so I can see that my document camera is working. Thank you. That's what happened, Marsha. I accidentally made you host instead of co-host. I lost my controls.
Okay.
That was my fault. I totally messed up on that. So let's take a look here what we've got. So we've got our field elm. I'll be able to come back and pop some of these colors with darks and improve that with a little dark. The olives didn't turn out bad. I'll make some more darks there. And our major oak, he's beautiful. And see those popped out color-wise, and I'll go in and add color there. And then we have our European ash, our horse chestnut, our larch, which I need to add the details on, and then our 100 horse chestnut. So super fun. This was a fun one. So let me see. Change my video back. What I'm going to do is, there we go. What I'm going to do is get all this, the recording up. I'll get all the slideshow up on the website and I'll email you all out so you can have access to that. I hope you guys had as much fun as I did doing this. It was, I'm so enjoying doing all the research and learning so much. If you have a moment, I'm putting a link in the chat for a tip jar, so just to support the free programming. But I do enjoy it so much. And send me your images of your pages, and I will put those on the website as well. Super fun. This was fun, and so we're going to Asia next time, and so that will be even more interesting. So that will be stop 5, and then we'll keep working our way around the world. So thank you, everybody. I hope to see you next time. I'll have that scheduled when I get back to Tucson. I'll get that scheduled up. So this is fun. And again, don't forget to send me your examples. So everybody have a great weekend and enjoy. It was good to see everybody. Take care.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.